Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw News Brief. It's Monday, so we're going to try to keep this one brief today, but probably not going to happen because we got like lawsuits to talk about.
There's a lot to get through.
Anyways, before we get there, Larson, let's ask the nice people to click that like button. Let's get us to 600 likes. What's in the news?
What's in the news? We'll start with the briefer story because the next one is going to take some time to really delve into. But first, according to Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer, USA Network none too happy with Vince McMahon's decision to let go of Paul Heyman as executive director of Raw. This is what he had to say on the most recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio. Transcripts via our good friendos, Cultaholic. That's what Dave had to say. Quote, I know USA were actually unhappy with the change. Very unhappy, by the way.
Ooh.
I don't think that they were happy with the ratings. They understood the ratings. I mean, they were told a long time ago that this is a rebuilding period and it was going to take time, and they understood it. So it sounds like USA understood the situation, circumstances that exist now in relation to wrestling and how that might affect the ratings. By that I mean empty arena era stuff. They were the understanding that there was going to be a bit of a rebuild, ratings would take a hit, but the idea, of course, is you rebuild, ratings take a hit short term, so that they hopefully grow long term. I guess the hope is, I mean, obviously this isn't the first time Vince has upset his broadcast partners. He's got a relatively long history of doing that. Most recently when they divided up the roster for Raw and SmackDown, when SmackDown made the move to Fox, and seemingly there was no coordination between WWE and their broadcast partners about who was going to be on what show.
That was still one of the strangest situations, yeah.
Really is. Though one has to wonder if USA was at least notified of the move before it was publicly announced, which again kind of seems unlikely, but you never know. You'd at least hope they'd give USA that courtesy. Give them a phone call, say, by the way, we're making this move. We're going to announce it now.
Yeah. I don't. So this is the one situation where, so like the roster split thing, that's absolutely bizarre that there wasn't coordination between you're working these huge deals. They booked the USA deal first, or the extension or whatever, for 5 years, and then they like start shopping around SmackDown, and they don't explain to Fox, hey, here's how this is a situation. I mean, what I would imagine, this is just my guess, and I think it's a fairly logical one, that Vince just thinks WWE is the WWE. People pay, they tune in to see the show, the brand. As you've put it before, you've made the analogy to the NFL. People pay for the Shield. However, even in the NFL, the bigger teams, there are more popular teams than other teams. So it's not like people just tune in. They tune in for the teams. In the case of WWE, I would imagine Vince probably understands that, over a long swath of time, the situation is typically fluid anyways. It's not like these brand splits really stick around too long. So in that situation, I kind of like, it is bizarre. It is bizarre. They wouldn't have said, hey, there's a firm brand split. If one of you, if you network executives are savvy about our product, you'll be savvy about our roster. Just know this is the situation. In this case, what I would figure is Vince probably feels that, well, yeah, Heyman and Pritchard are the executive directors, but at the end of the day, the buck stops here. I'm the final say on creative. And so maybe in that case, he just didn't feel like, this is a move that they would have to be notified about. Plus, It's Vince McMahon. And you know how these weirdo rich people work. They don't feel like they have to answer to anybody, seemingly. And that's how Vince has always been.
He doesn't want to cede any measure of control. And that's Vince. I know that. Mm-hmm. And he probably feels at this juncture in his life and his career, he's beholden to nobody.
Yeah.
Therefore, he makes decision for his company, and his decision is his decision. And if anybody has a problem with it, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, well, why should I have to notify them? This is my business. I mean, maybe just, he has been on TV for such a long time that I would think that maybe it's a situation also where he's never had to deal with people checking him. Although there have been various points in time that we've heard of that,
USA wanted somebody in the writers' room at one point after they upset standards and practices. So it's not unheard of for broadcast partners to intervene to make sure they get the product that they want.
Yeah. So, one interesting thing on the, because while I was out on my jog this morning, I I was listening to Meltzer and Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio, and he said, and I was kind of shocked by this. And this is one of the cases where you can look at the numbers, and I don't think he's correct about this, but he said that that getting Heyman out had nothing to do with the ratings. And that to me was interesting because, and I don't know if he was speculating, because then he said because, the ratings are bad across the board and the ratings on both shows have been sinking in the same, at the same pace, which isn't true, because was when SmackDown moved to Fox, was it always about 500,000 over Raw? Was that the case?
I don't remember exactly.
Because they both lost about 500,000. Raw was doing about 2. Was SmackDown doing 2.5? I thought it was just doing like around 2.2, 2.4.
Oh, I don't recall. I can look.
Okay. Well, I mean,
now it's hovering between 1.9 and 2.
Yeah, right. So, and then, but Raw has dropped to like about 1.16 on the low end, 1.8 on the high.
Usually, it's the third hour that really drags the number down.
Right. But like the first hour sometimes will be over 2.
Usually it's around 1.8, 1.9.
Yeah, but he also mentioned that this past week that Raw beat SmackDown in the 18 to 49 demographic, which apparently is a pretty rare occasion. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting that like his main point was, everybody's ratings are down and they understand that. Yeah. But this didn't have anything to do with ratings. I have no idea if that's speculation on his part, because the ratings across the board has dropped, and it's like, why would you get rid of one guy when you don't get rid of the other guy? I don't know, but he seems to think that wasn't the case. But it is interesting that USA is like, whoa, hold on a second. Paul Heyman is a big fan there. So moving on, so there's been like a bunch of lawsuits filed against WWE, and of
more
course,
than usual, seemingly.
Yeah, and as many of you may remember,
okay, hold on. So to answer your question earlier, prior to the last episode of SmackDown, so right before pandemic, before things started shutting down, SmackDown was getting about 2.5 million.
Okay, it was. Okay, so they have dropped, about the same amount.
And then last week was the average was 1.9. Week before that, 2.1, 2, 1.9. Okay. So it is about 500,000 viewer drop.
Okay,
roughly.
And that's basically the same. Or has Raw then dropped not as much? Because was Raw getting like 2.2, 2.3 before pandemic?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Okay, so maybe Raw hasn't dropped as much.
Maybe as a percentage of viewership, the drop is roughly the same.
Yeah.
If not actual viewers.
It's all bad.
It is. Speaking of bad, this is bad for WB.
Great transition.
Thank you. So following Crown Royal. No, Crown Jewel 2019 is the other one that was Crown Royal Super Showdown.
They're all Crown Royal, man.
Reports surfaced of some sort of incident that went down when the WB superstars were trying to depart from Saudi Arabia. They were stranded there for a bit amidst a rumored dispute between Vince McMahon and the Saudi Crown Prince. And people talking about whether it was some sort of hostage situation. Whatever the case may be, there were some tweets from several superstars that made it seem like things weren't necessarily going smoothly trying to get out of the country.
Yeah, it was like Curtis Axel,
Rusev,
Brody
Andrade.
Lee, Rusev, Andrade. Yeah.
And pretty quickly thereafter, WWE issued a statement stating that the talent and staff that were stuck in the country about an extra day was because of a mechanical issue with their charter flight that was supposed to depart. If you remember correctly, Vince got out of the country on his own plane right after the show. There's about 20 or so talents that apparently tried to charter their own plane in an effort to make it to SmackDown the following night in Buffalo on time. Of course, that didn't happen. They had to rewrite the show, and that's when the NXT invasion began. But now, thanks to an amendment to a lawsuit that was filed a few months back by the Firefighters Pension System of the City of Kansas City, Missouri Trust against the WWE, we may have some new details about the incident, including testimony from a former WWE talent who was on the flight. So WrestleNomics uploaded some of the salient bits from the latest filing, and here's what this former WWE superstar named CW -2 in the documents had to say.
I think that means confidential witness number 2, because number 1, I believe, was a former executive at some.
It was an employee of I have it here
it's
later
NBC,
on.
not NBC, but MBC, which is like
MBC,
it's like a Middle Eastern, which
broadcasting company.
Because Meltzer was talking about that this morning as well. And that situation was like WWE was far, far overstating while trying to broker a deal with like one of the major TV stations out in the Middle East.
We got all that down below the wrestler.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about the wrestler stuff.
No, it's all here, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that stuff is kind of boring. It's just, I mean, basically, we'll talk about the wrestler stuff here in a second. But like the TV deal was just WWE was saying that they had like way more viewers than they actually do. 100 million. And like they were saying like, no, we'll give you 6.5 million just to be generous.
And then they upped that to about 15.
Yeah, that was just to make like the deal work. And then WWE, they were asking for like an $80 million license fee. They brought that down to like 50 million. And then the TV station,
NBC
wouldn't go over
could not go above 14.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was the stalemate they were at.
There is that, but that's boring stuff. I'd rather talk about armed guards, Larson.
All right, so this is straight from the filing. I'm not going to read the whole thing because there's a lot here. But
just
we'll
read the armed guards thing.
Well, I'll get to that. There's a little background here. So this is what it said. A former wrestler for WB who performed for the company as a wrestler from 2012 to 2020, April 2020, who participated in the October 31st, 2019 Crown Royal event in Saudi Arabia, confirms the substance of these, the plane being held up because of some sort of dispute. Media reports. CW2 explained that following the Crown Jewel event, he, along with other WB personnel, were scheduled to leave the stadium. I'm just trying to get through here quick and head to a private airport to take a charter plane to Buffalo, New York for SmackDown. CW2 stated that while his group was waiting to depart, defendant McMahon, other WB executives, Ric Flair, Hogan, boarded different flights from the rest of the group and took off, appearing to be, quote, in a hurry.
We got to get out of Dodge. Woo!
CW2 recalled that he was initially told the charter flight was scheduled to leave, was on delay because the plane needed to be pulled around, and once they boarded, they were removed from the airplane after 20 to 30 minutes. CW2 explained that he spoke with the stewardess on the flight about the delay and were told that, quote, it seems someone doesn't want us to leave the country. The pilot apparently sounded distressed when talking to the passengers about being unable to take off.
Oh, here we go. This is the good part. I'm going to read this part because I want to talk about armed guards. So, CW2. By the way, who they said that this person started. I think I saw something that said this person started working for the company in April 2012.
Well, it says 2012 in this.
And they were released in April 2020. Yeah. So is this Rusev?
I mean, there's a couple of potential. I mean, of the people that were released in April, there were several people on this card.
Yeah.
That were on that flight.
Yeah.
That were subsequently released in April.
Anyways,
read about the armed guards.
So, confidential wrestler number 2 recalled that when they were told that it was because of mechanical issues, but he recalled seeing a ton of guards wearing black militia attire and wearing guns that were blocking their exit and, quote, staring at the wrestlers. Confidential wrestler 2 became aware that something was wrong and explained that a number of the other personnel were referring to the event as a hostage situation. Wrestler 2 explained that he asked the senior director of talent relations, Mark Carano, about what was going on. I like how upfront Carano is here. He told him, the wrestler that is, that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and McMahon had gotten into an argument over late payments in connection with the June 7th, 2019 Super Showdown event. Carano also informed the wrestler that McMahon had cut the live feed for the Crown Jewel event, and this had made the Crown Prince very mad. Now, this is basically what reported. This is what we reported. This is what was reported at the time. This is what was said. And WWE, I think in their statement, they said that like these rumors were laughable or something.
Yeah, something like that. There's more here. So the CW2 confirms that about 10 to 12 wrestlers plus cameramen and agents were put on another flight to try to get to Buffalo. Of course, we now know they didn't make it in time. Where's the bit? So here we go. CW2 stated that after he returned, the WB put out a letter that attempted to remove all blame from the company, and that, in his opinion, many wrestlers were scared of speaking out due to the limited job opportunities in the industry and WWE's comparatively high salaries. CW2 explained that many spoke on the condition of anonymity to journalists, and the WB denounced these stories as conspiracies and laughable.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, after the event, CW2 said that he and a coworker went straight to talent relations and said that they would not go back to Saudi Arabia. CW2 noted that other wrestlers tried to do the same, but the WB, quote, abused their power and threatened the future trajectory of all their careers if they did not go. Of course, we have heard publicly WB say, hey, you don't want to go to Saudi Arabia? We're not going to make you.
Okay, so we've heard publicly. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they've ever issued a statement. We've heard Meltzer, several others say that if people don't want to go, they don't have to go. Like,
you have to sort of, you can extrapolate that means if you have the stroke,
of course,
if you've got a super secure position, you don't have to go. Like certain wrestlers are able to say, but I think your general point, like we've heard reports that wrestlers obviously have chosen not to go.
Yeah.
But you can you can kind of understand. It just sort of makes sense that if, they want Bo Dallas to go and perform in the 50-man Rumble, if he says, hey, I don't want to go. I mean, it's funny because some of these guys, the guy like Brody Lee, for example, he wanted out anyways. And of course, he's going to be the one saying, hey, we're stuck here, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's a sort of situation where there are people who are sort of hovering in the middle ground where it's like, I'm on TV right now and I've got like at least a lower to mid card spot. Do I want to get down to like, the B team level with Hennig and Bo Dallas? Or do I want to like continue my trajectory perhaps on the up? So it all depends on where your placement is, obviously.
Yeah. Apparently if CW2 is to be believed, lends a ton of credence to the other reports.
Oh yeah.
Now it's not to say that for sure what was going on was necessarily a quote hostage situation, but it did seem like tensions were fairly high. Wow, Vince.
Yeah.
Wait till this leave your wrestlers essentially stranded in a country and just leave them there. Gosh.
Yeah, that's
I know, I can't remember who said it, but someone said something along the lines of, well, that's what Vince always does. As soon as the show ends, he hops on his plane and gets out of town, goes to the next city. But if there's already been issues between himself and the Crown Prince, he pulled the plug on the feet of the show for the first half hour. Tensions were high. You just don't up and leave when you got about 175 people working for you on a plane waiting to get out. Knowing that there's a tense situation going on. You don't do that. Yeah. You don't do that.
I know, man. I know. He got Hogan out of there. If nothing else, I've got Hulk. Me and him. Yeah, dude. It's look, none of this stuff. It's interesting now that it's in a court document, and we'll see how these lawsuits play out.
It'll be interesting now if any WB employees are subpoenaed, compelled to testify under oath.
Well, if you remember, there was one particular pretty high up wrestler who downplayed the entire thing. AJ Styles, wasn't he on like a mixer stream? And he was like, yeah, no, I just know that they said it was a mechanical issue. I'm pretty sure he would have noticed some armed some armed guards outside the plane. I think everybody would have understood, okay, this is interesting. Unless, I don't know, he's just sitting there on his phone the whole time and he's just following everybody using his periphery. I don't know, man. I don't know. And now that he's like upset with Gallows and Anderson, is he going to get back on the mixer stream, get asked about this? Oh, yeah. No, they were holding us hostage. Probably not. But, yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It's a mess. What else is a mess? Let's see here. Yeah, you have
Raw because there's not much of a preview for today's
no,
show.
we got the Drake Maverick thing.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
This was interesting just because it's sort of like a final follow up here on the whole Drake Maverick thing. Part of his story was, over here anyways, when exactly did Drake Maverick know that he was going to get actually signed by the WWE? Evidently, this is not shocking at all. He found out right before his match, his final match there in NXT for the Cruiserweight Championship finals. A PW Insider said they were told that Maverick was not aware he was going to be offered a new deal until the day his Cruiserweight Championship tournament was filmed at the WWE Performance Center. That's not shocking at all. It's yet another tactic WWE will use to gain leverage over the wrestlers. This guy, well, he's desperate for a job, so let's keep him out of the loop until the very
pretty
end.
much. I mean, the whole time he was in this kind of purgatory, or he was still on WWE, but officially released. He was doing workout videos with EC3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seemed like he was preparing to.
And you're right. And in between the span of time of him getting released, and even during the Cruiserweight final or the Cruiserweight tournament, he was trademarking Spud and I think Rockstar Spud as well. So he was planning on going back to that as a possibility. So yeah, it just seems like it was like he wasn't in on it. It's not like it's not like his release was a work, like he actually was released. They said, hey, do you still want to participate in this, or hey, we still have you under contract, so you're going to participate in this. And then, he went along with it. And then in the end he was, but I mean, he put in a lot of good work there. So
yeah,
if that's what he's wanted, if that's what he was happy with, then good for him.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, like you said, dude, not much of a Raw preview tonight. In fact, as of right now, this is it.
That's it.
It's one question for Raw preview. Why did Seth Rollins invite Rey Mysterio and Dominic to Raw?
I thought he made that pretty obvious on.
I was sleeping
Raw last week.
I was sleeping when he invited him. So what was the reason?
I have to go refer to my notes, but it was essentially.
Don't worry about it. It's to further the feud between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio.
Set up a match at Extreme Rules.
Yeah,
sure.
There you go.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And to have Dominic eventually turn on his father to align himself with Seth.
Speaking of Raw, yeah, also Meltzer said that the one change that he did know that was made to the Backlash yesterday for Raw matches was the Asuka Nia Jax one. Asuka was supposed to go over clean. Then they just extended it out. I guess they're going to have a rematch at Extreme Rules. But so yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I mean, he seems to think that there's going to be a lot of changes happening immediately on Raw. Remains to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. So.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it for the news brief. Twitch chat, stick around. We're going to do mailbag. And if you want to listen to us answer your questions on the mailbag, by all means, listen to the audio version of this podcast. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.